Hi, my name's Dave, and you're listening to episode 60 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers by scale modelers about scale models. And have we got a great episode lined up for you? We have a huge bag of listener mail to get through and a ton of new kit announcements. Our special guest is going to be none other than Lincoln Wright, who will be sharing his unique experiences as one of the few Western model makers to have worked with the greats in Japan, learning their methodology while furthering to develop his own unique style. But first, I'm pleased to announce that this episode is brought to you through the generous support of Aidan O'Donnell, our latest Patreon supporter. Aidan, the new hero of the modelling world, answered our call, and you can too. Just go to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from $1 upwards. Your contributions help to fund the show and are greatly appreciated. Fine Scale Modeler is proud to support On the Bench. Fine Scale Modeler is the world's most recognised and essential magazine, and is available in all good newsagents and newsstands or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, go to their website www.finescale.com and subscribe to either a print edition or the digital edition. Or why not treat yourself to both? Go now. Go to www.finescale.com. And hello and welcome to the show, and g'day Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day listeners.
G'day Julian.
Hello.
So gents, what have we been up to since the last episode?
Last episode I finished that really horrible little kit, that Czech Models Blommen Voss BV40.
It's like a little glider thing.
Yeah,
German,
it's a tiny little
glider.
one-man glider fighter sort of. Best way to put it would be a bomber attack glider.
Yep.
So that's what I was designed for, to attack the American and Russian bomber streams.
Doesn't sound like it'd be a great idea.
Well, when you see the size of it, it's absolutely tiny. It's got two 30mm cannons, and they drop them like way on top, above the bomber streams. And these things were designed to just go on a big dive.
How'd they get them up there?
Tow them with Messerschmitt 110.
Oh, jeez.
But I think I only made about a couple of them.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah, it was 1944, I think.
Yeah.
May 1944 when they had their first test flight of one of these things. But it's such an unusual subject.
And you knocked it out pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, it's not many pieces. Especially in that scale. It's not many pieces. It's absolutely tiny.
Yeah.
But it's like resin and plastic. Bit of and some vac form canopy.
Cool.
So, but no, it was all right. And now I've started the old Tamiya 48 scale Brewster Buffalo.
Very nice.
Which I'll be building as a B339C version for the Netherlands East Indies Air Force in Java during the Second World War, 41, I think. Second World War in 1941.
41, yeah. 41 into 42.
This will be your first Dutch aircraft?
I think so, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think so. Unless I might have done one when I was younger, but in the more modern stuff, this is the first one. But it's I bought a few extra bits. I bought an Edward interior set for it, and the was it the quick boost engine to slap in there? Some Montex masks.
Oh, Montex masks.
So I'm going to go the whole hog with this one.
Well, they're a bit hit and miss sometimes.
You reckon? I use them all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. You hear some people go, more for the masking around the canopies and stuff.
Oh, I wouldn't necessarily use it for canopy masking.
Yeah.
I'd go Edward for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would just buy them for the, to paint my markings on and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Yep.
But yeah. So that's what I'm up to.
Julian?
Not too much. Slapping more paint on the P47 for the Enter Club build.
How's it coming along nice?
Yeah, sort of. I painted some black on, and then I started doing as a base for my two-tone blue upside colors.
Yep.
and then I realised I'd been holding it in one place on the black long enough that it left a fingerprint.
Oh.
So that's all right. I'll just sand it a little bit.
Bit of wet and dry.
Yeah.
1200 or 1500.
I'll just I'll just do a little bit of sanding, not enough to punch through the paint or anything like that. Just
to
enough
flatten it.
Yeah, just to flatten it, and then I'll just paint it black again.
Yep.
No problem. So I just continued working with the light blue that I was working with.
Yep.
And then I thought I'll get those done so it's completely dry. No chance I could by holding it in those areas will I ever result in a fingerprint when I next paint it, right? So yeah, that's it. I mean, I usually my system is I'll usually get home from work, I'll go and paint one color at least, and then that's out of the way for one night. Usually like you got 3 colors on a given plane. You got 2 upside colors and 1 on the underside, and that's 3 days of painting, and you can get stuff done pretty quickly.
Yep.
Cool. You don't have to spend too much time.
Yeah, because I was on 2 weeks holiday, so I've just come back to work this week, and that was just great. It's 2 modelling whenever you want.
I was off for 4 weeks, not that long ago, and I didn't get that much done.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
Just get lazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
Sit down and put a movie on, and
I
had a big Mad Max marathon over the last couple of days.
Yeah. Well, I watched Iron Sky and Iron Sky 2. Great movies. I love the Iron Sky.
Nazis on the moon.
Yes, good old Nazis on the moon. And the second movie, it's not as good as the first one, but it's got a lizard Adolf Hitler riding a T-Rex he calls Blondie. Now, seriously, you can't get better than that.
So it's a spectacle kind of film.
Oh, yeah, very much, yeah. Hollow Earth, the whole thing.
They're ticking all the boxes.
Oh, yes,
all the crazy stuff.
Yes,
so it's a documentary, is it?
Pretty much. Speaking of documentaries, going back to movies, we will get to modelling, folks. Just don't worry. Another movie I did watch over my break was I finally got around to getting myself a copy of the Shin Godzilla.
Never heard of it.
Which is the latest Japanese Godzilla movie. And that's done like a semi-documentary. I absolutely loved it. So if you like your Godzillas, watch it.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So what about you, Dave? What have you been working on?
Well,
Or what's been frustrating you?
the Sheridan still.
Hey, you got paint on it.
Yeah, I got paint on it.
That's a big bonus.
And,
Dave's painted the tank.
I still can't believe you lost a wheel.
The idler wheel. Well, it's interesting because I thought, I'll just go and buy the old Tamiya Sheridan and take the idler wheel out of that.
Yeah, and what happened?
Completely different.
What do you mean it's completely different?
I don't know how they did it. It's completely different.
Is it wider? Is it?
Well, it sort of just looks different. So
So the new one's correct and the old one was like an impression of it.
Take it which way. Yeah, I mean, the old Tamiya Sheridan is really rough when you look at it in comparison to the new one.
Well, how old
really
is
rough.
it?
Oh, geez, it must be about 30 years old,
Yeah,
25 years old.
And you can't find it at all.
I don't know where it is. So
but it has to be in that room over there, right?
Well, Ian walked in, and the first thing he said when he walked in my moulding room is, "No wonder you can't bloody find it. Look at your room; it's a mess at the moment." So, I've written to Tamiya, and hopefully I'll get an email back from them. Well, I've actually written to their Australian agent because you can't write to them direct.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I sent an email off on Monday, and it's Wednesday. I haven't heard anything yet. So, I've had terrible luck with model companies.
Mate,
trying to get parts.
but then again, these parts, they end up anywhere.
Yeah.
When you lose them. I remember losing bits and then finding them in my bed.
What?
Yeah, you go to bed that night. And, what's that hanging up? Poke me in the leg and reach down there. How the hell did that get there?
So I'll put that aside now.
I'm not putting it aside. So you lost an idler wheel in 35th scale.
Yep.
But you don't normally lose parts of ships in 350th scale.
No.
That is bizarre.
I know.
You're supposed to lose the small things, not the large things.
I know. Tell me about it. I know. So...
Well, funny you should say that. We've had him on before, Lawrence, who runs the, one of the main guys of Melbourne Model Expo.
Yep.
Well, I remember I think he was building a 48 scale English Electric Lightning, and he had like a full resin interior.
Yeah.
Lost the interior. In
Oh,
his room.
seriously?
And he had a really nice, clean modelling room. And, yeah, it just vanished. And, like, you think something that big, you'd be able to find it. But nah.
No, you can't
Gone.
find it anywhere.
Nah. Absolutely gone. Usually the bigger pieces are the ones you lose.
So I'll put this aside. I've started on my B47
The Strato
Yep.
Cruiser? Or
Strato Fortress.
Strato Fortress.
No, not Strato Fortress.
Strato Cruiser.
Cruiser, yeah. And
Lovely aircraft.
Yeah, gorgeous aircraft. One of the best ever built.
Mm.
In looks,
Yep.
next to the Hustler, next to the B52.
No, I prefer it to the B-52.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
It's just like that really long canopy, that long bubble canopy on there.
And it's funny because when they got the...
Weren't they offset too, the canopy?
No, yeah, it is slightly.
Yeah.
Because the American Air Force did the same when they got the Canberras, and they called it the Martin B-47 from memory.
Yes.
And the English Electric Canberra was a side-by-side cockpit.
Yep.
And the Americans changed it to a tandem for some reason. Mind you, I've got one of them actually in my stash, one in Dave's Skull, so I should build that as well.
Good to hear.
Anywho, what else have I done? I did something I haven't done in years and years and years.
Yeah, what's
I
that?
went through my cupboard and chucked out all my empty boxes from my completed kits.
Oh, that's something I need to do every now and
Oh, I
then.
love that. That's a great bit, isn't it?
Yeah,
Do you know,
It hurts.
I still haven't gotten rid of my Shikaku box. It's still sitting in the modelling room.
you got no idea how painful it is trying to put it in the bin or actually walking. It's like,
Actually,
it's
I
like
don't
having
know.
lead weights on your legs as you're walking out through the
Because
door.
to me, that's the completion of the kit.
No, because
Once the kit's done,
I-
you can throw the box out. It's finished. Move on to your next project.
I hang on because you invariably have some parts that you don't need and you don't use.
I know.
No.
Look, and a
you
lot of
think to
people.
yourself, one day those parts might come in handy for something else.
And we've
that's why I
all
don't
done
throw
it.
out.
We've all done it. And
Not
I
me.
remember I used to have a big box full of just old models and bits and pieces. I ended up donating them to Chris, who's been on the show, Chris Dowsett.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want them. And nowadays,
You don't use them?
I don't use them. I just look. I've got a couple of boxes. I've got bits for like ships, but that's just generic parts.
Yep.
But like for aircraft and tanks and that, I don't need them. What do I need it for? So
Yeah,
goes. It
exactly.
it takes up room. So I'll just get rid of it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it hurt taking it out, but it was strangely liberating once I'd done it.
Yes.
It's a strange feeling. Very odd feeling.
Well, you need to get more comfortable with that feeling, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's going to do about half the boxes. I've still got another half in there that I need to sort of go through and chuck.
Yes.
Well, it's proportional to the number of kits you finish, so more incentive to finish.
I've got a lot of room, and I've been buying a lot of kits too. I've gone on this mad spree of buying buckets, M113s in all the different varieties that they came in.
Now,
Right.
refresh my memory. Was it probably about 10 or 12 episodes ago someone was saying that they weren't going to buy any more kits?
Now, remember I broke that rule and said, what the hell? Once the dam breaks, the dam breaks.
You bought a kit for your niece.
That's right,
Or
yeah.
your
I bought that little
yeah.
Gundam thing for her.
Yeah.
She's
and
an enabler.
that broke, yeah, she is. And that's actually what broke the dam. And so, anyway.
That's part of the hobby. It's designed to keep us poor.
We've got a ton of listener mail to get through.
All right,
So,
let's hook in.
Shall we hook in?
We shall.
We did a new sort of music thing for the listener mail.
Oh, have you? Lovely.
No, I haven't. We need to get one.
Well, I'll do one.
All
Dateline.
right, first one comes from Tony Jacob again. G'day, Tony. How you going, mate?
Hi, Tony.
And he says, G'day, Dave. Thanks to you and the boys for your great episode on clear coats. I hold my breath every time I get close to doing the gloss coat stage. Going to have to give Mr. Colour Super Clear 3 a go with the levelling thinner.
Yes, thank you, Julian. I tried it.
How is it?
Oh, it's freaking great, isn't it? Oh, yeah, first time I used it, convert, bang, I'm using this the rest of my life.
Tony goes on to say, I've recently been using Mission Models Gloss Clear 2, which has been giving great results. In brackets, I spray inside, so true acrylics are my preference, but I can't get consistent results from AK and Vallejo Gloss. I'm on that bandwagon.
I've
I
heard a lot of stories about that,
I
yes.
can't. I was hoping you might think about doing something of a similar subject on masking. I'd love to get your thoughts and experiences.
Mm-hmm.
It's another subject that scares me a lot and causes a lot of disasters for many modelers. The dreaded lifting of the paint from trying blue painter's tape. The heartbreaking bleed under the edge of useless vinyl canopy masks, etc., etc. I've ended up using a number of heaps of different solutions for good masking, from kabuki tape to blue tack to pre-cut masks, as long as they're not Montex canopy masks, to masking fluid, M3 liner tape, to frisket and parafilm, post-it notes, etc., etc., etc. I'd appreciate your ideas and all. Cheers, Tony. Well, I reckon that's a good idea to...
Yeah, we'll have a chat about that one of the up-and-coming episodes.
Yep, I think that's a good idea.
Because I love masking.
Next is from Paul Gloucester.
Good old Paul.
And Paul says, hi, Dave, Ian and Julian. Really love the discussion on clears and the bonus topic on what to practice painting on. If it helps, there are two things that greatly assisted me with making sure that what goes on the important model first is tested on a not-so-important model.
Mm-hmm.
The first is I use all my old obsolete kits or even pick up some cheap ones at a swap and sell to practice the paint job first.
All right, yep.
So when I made my special hobby P40 you saw at Expo, which by the way won
its category, hands down, yeah.
I used an old Hasegawa P40 to paint, weather and decal alongside the actual competition kit that I was building.
All right.
That way, if anything goes wrong, I made the mistake on this kit first.
Yes.
It also has the added benefit of recycling the old kit, which is now hanging from my model room roof, so nothing is wasted.
Fantastic.
Anyhow, I hope this helps as a couple of other ways to getting something better than the back of the plastic spoon for everyone out there. Cheers, Paul. Very good.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Stefan Murphy writes, hey guys, first I want to say hello from South Carolina.
Hey.
I discovered the podcast last month and absolutely love it. The mixture of new kit reviews, main topics, along with a great sense of humour is just what I needed. I love to hear let me say that again. I would love to hear an episode on the internet and how it's changed modelling for the good and the bad. Example, Facebook groups, internet forums, critique groups, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
I myself can sometimes overwhelm myself with the amount of research and subjects. Well, keep up the good work, and I'll be looking forward to the next episode. Regards, Stephen Murphy.
Thanks.
I did a subject on the Gentleman Modeler, I think episode 40 or something like that. I don't have to go back and have a look, where I spoke about, being good on the internet and trying to move away from, critiquing just for the sake of critiquing, etc., etc. So, but I think it's interesting because I reckon that since the likes of Facebook and that, I've seen a decline in internet forums.
Yeah.
Don't you think, Julian?
Yeah, because
Facebook's easier.
It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the trouble with Facebook and those sorts of social media, you don't get the depth of discussion that you used to get on internet forums, I don't think.
Well, yeah, because like on internet forums, you could compartmentalize and put them into separate categories, right? Like you had your ship modelers, you had your... I mean, you have to do that by starting a whole new page on Facebook. Like it's not like we're on, say... Hyperscale, they've got a different genre section and then different scales, and then you go to other forums where it's like there's a specific section just for P47s or, and you can get the real enthusiasts.
Yes. But I still don't think you're seeing a depth of conversation that you used to get or still do get on the internet forums.
No, you don't, no.
Which is the one downside, I'd say.
But that's what you do. Like you can use your forums for the in-depth conversations and for research and so forth, which a lot of good modelers do. Yep. And for just getting out there to the general public, that's what Facebook's for.
Yep.
Not to mention that also the more knowledgeable people who were around the real aircraft and the real tanks and things might have died.
Well, actually, it's interesting. I reckon you're seeing the real people on Facebook popping up more than you used to see on the forums.
Yeah. Well,
because there's special interest groups. Like, for example, for the, and I'll do a shout out to Ben Hall because he's been emailing me about some APC stuff, the M113, because he used to drive the things, and we've been sort of corresponding on that. So what you'll see is the people who used to either be a monkey wrench on an aircraft or a driver in a tank or a sailor on a ship or even the pilots, because they're looking at the interest groups directly related to that particular aircraft, there's usually links back to modelling groups.
Yes.
And that's where I think you're getting more and more of the people who actually worked on this stuff, and they can add, whereas you wouldn't necessarily get that with the forums because they would never go to a modelling forum in the first place.
Totally agree.
I get you.
Totally agree.
Also, on Facebook, you have to use your own identity, right? So,
Do you?
well, to a degree, most people do.
Yeah, most people do.
Yeah.
Whereas someone could just be making stuff up and on a forum, you know.
It's true.
You do get those people in real life as well, though.
Yes. You get them everywhere.
Hence, go back and re-listen to my episode on the Gentleman Modeler.
Yes.
All right, next up from Mike Stucker. Gentlemen, just recently listened to your podcast about clear coats. Entertaining and enlightening as usual. I do have a couple of comments about Future. Others may have pointed this out to you already, but just in case they haven't. First of all is that Future is now branded as Pledge Revive It Floor Gloss and is available in Australia. And you can get it at www.polishup.com.au.
All right, yep.
As for comments on it cracking, I've been using it for about 15 to 20 years and have never seen it crack or yellow on a model. However, I have seen it yellow in the bottle after about 10 years.
Yep.
I suspect that cracking occurs if you put it on too thick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I do have issues with airbrushing it though, and sometimes it goes on perfectly and other times a little bit pebbly, and that's why I've moved away from it because it can be a bit hit and miss through my airbrush. And I'm never comfortable enough really just painting it on with a brush, slapping it on like some people do.
Yeah.
As such, I only airbrush it on armour as a sealer coat. Any imperfections will be covered up by weathering and flat clear. For car models, I brush it on using either a cotton swab or, that's interesting, a cotton swab, or a paintbrush. Nylon flat tip, about 1/4 inch wide. Do not go over areas a second time or apply a second coat until the first one's completely dried or streaks may occur.
Yep.
Hope this info is of use.
It is.
Keep up the good work. A fortnight sometimes seems like too long between podcasts. Mike, I hear, but trust me, getting everybody together and just doing a fortnightly one is enough work without stretching it to weekly.
Yes.
We might do it weekly when we all retire.
Yes.
So that's Mike Stucker from
That's gonna
Sugarland,
be a long
Texas,
time away.
United States.
Thanks, Mike.
Next one, a quick one from Simon Thomas. Hi, guys. New Aussie listener here and love the podcast. In the last episode, you guys mentioned you can't get Future floor polish here in Australia. The equivalent here is a product called Long Life Self-Shining Floor Polish. Bunnings sells it for about $10 for a litre. And
That'll last you a while.
yeah, it would. So there you go. You can get it in Oz. There's 2 different ways for you.
Yeah.
So thanks for that, Simon. Paul Rutter wrote back into us. You remember Paul wrote in saying that he started listening to a podcast a couple of weeks ago and learned so much about the hobby. I know modelers often use paints that aren't specifically listed on the packaging or in instructions. So my question is, how do you know what paints to use if they aren't specifically listed by the manufacturer? For example, if I wanted to use Gunz paints on Airfix kit where you're told to only use Hombrol, how would I decide how to convert it?
Right. There are conversion charts. There's a fair few of them out there online,
Yeah.
and they are quite handy.
I think IPMS Stockholm.
Yes,
is-
IPMS Stockholm. They've got, I think, the best one.
Yeah,
And they got tons of different paints, and just cross-reference through them.
So you just Google IPMS Stockholm
Yep.
and it'll
They've got
take you to
it's
their...
I'm pretty sure it's a PDF file you can download
Okay.
because I've got it at home, and it's
It
so
doesn't
handy to have.
necessarily help you out all the time, though.
No, because some paint manufacturers will not have that colour.
Yeah. And also, what you might find is that, for example, a German tank grey will be, its equivalent will be listed as the German tank grey. But if you put these two colours together, they'll look nothing alike.
Totally different, yeah.
Right? So it's not necessarily an actual equivalent.
Yes.
It's just an equivalent name.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
And look, and like Airfix is a great one for that. Some of the colours they come out with are just ridiculous. Like I know that with the big Hellcat I got,
Yeah.
the glossy sea blue, they've just got it as their, I think, H15, which is their
just basic blue, yeah.
basic
Dark
glossy
blue.
dark blue,
Yeah.
rather than the midnight blue that it should be.
Yeah.
So with that, then it comes down to have to check your references
Yeah.
and try and find good colour images or colour swatches and go from that way.
The way it sort of works is, you sort of get by however you can. You sort of use charts early on, and then as you become a more experienced modeler, then you end up sort of having a knowledge of the paints that you want to use and where to get them and that sort of thing.
And also, then you start learning how you use your colour wheel.
Yeah, and that's the next stage.
Yeah, because when I did the Chicago, I had to do all those vowels in that Euro, whatever it was. I can't remember that earth tone colour. And no one makes that paint.
Yeah.
So I found a colour swatch of it and just mixed it up myself.
Yeah.
Made sure I had enough. That's the big thing. You got to make sure you got more than you need. Because there's nothing worse than being 3/4 or 4/5 of the way through the build or the paint, and you run out, and then you got to try and colour match that colour again. You'll never get it exactly right.
Well, I actually wrote back to Luke and I said, put him in the direction of a little site called Paint for Models. Mm-hmm. So the web address is www.paint4models, all in one word, .com. And that's got a little chart there as well for you to convert.
Yep.
But you're right, the IPMS Stockholm one, and I couldn't think of it when I was actually writing to Luke. So there you go, Mr. Luke Rutter. There's a couple of ideas for you. Maybe head off and have a look at the Stockholm
Definitely
IPMS.
worth a look.
John McAvoy wrote to us back in July. Remember he was looking, had a question regarding the Monogram Phantom, the F4C kit, in regards to the getting some resin stuff for it.
Oh, right, yes, because no one actually made anything specific for it.
So, well, they did. It was the... I'm trying to think what the aftermarket ones was. Anyway, we told him just to go ahead and have a crack anyway.
Yep.
Because worst case, he's just got some spare resin he can use later on. He wrote back and he said, thanks for the information on the show. I went ahead and ordered the parts and they look like they'll fit well with a little surgery. Don't think I'll use a leading edge slat flaps as the F4C doesn't have them. Mm-hmm. I also purchased aftermarket decals and weighted resin tyres. Is there such thing as a resin addiction? Should I be worried? No.
Well, no, because once you used enough of it, eventually you sort of, I think, move away from it.
Yeah, I don't mind using it. I like resin.
You generally, when you get into resin, you're like, oh, look at all this cool stuff that I can use to modify my kits. And then after a while, you're like, you know what, I really don't need to deal with all that resin. It's enough of a pain that I'll just...
It depends. I mean, if you...
use it where it's absolutely necessary.
If you pick your particular subject and go, okay, on this particular kit, I'm just going to build out of the box. Mm-hmm. And the next particular kit, you know what, I'm going to go to town and get every conceivable bit of photo etch and resin I can for it.
I mean,
you pick your battles.
That Blom and Voss was the last kit I ever built. The last kit I've actually ever built that had a box. Everything else, just can't build them out of box anymore. I've been going too silly that way.
All right. Next, Jeffrey Bletcher writes in, hi, Dave, Ian and Julian. I just want to tell you that I enjoy your podcasts.
Thank you.
It's nice to have a compliment to the Canadian counterpart. I find the topics, guests and commentary engaging and informative. I'm a model railroader as well as a scale modeller and have an interest in many modelling subjects. Thanks for doing the podcast. I look forward to each episode. Jeff Bletcher, Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. And Jeff, we've done a bit of research and apparently the model railroader part of you can be surgically removed. Wow. Canada has a very good health system over there, so just pop along to your local doctor. No, in all seriousness, I mean, I don't know how you'd manage to balance both of those subjects.
I always take my hat off to the railroad model, especially when you start looking at the way they do their layouts and so forth.
I mean, it's more expensive than plastic modelling.
If I was a modeller who did both railroads and regular models,
I'm
not sure how I would reconcile the railroad scales with the rail stuff that comes in 35th scale.
Oh, not in 35th scale.
With
OO
tanks
scale.
on it and stuff.
Is it OO? OO is 176 scale?
No, that's HO.
Oh, HO is 176 scale. Yes, there you go.
And I think O might be 132.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, in any case, as a constant scale modeller, Like there are going to be things like if you've got an interest in both sides, right? How do you get your tanks onto flatbed cars and all that sort of stuff when you can only get those in 35th scale or maybe 72nd?
Imagine the
but
cool
not,
things you could build
Scratch
combining both of them.
Yeah.
but the problem is there'll be a thing where the ideal tanks won't be in the railroad scale and vice versa. And
No,
all
well,
that
what
sort of thing.
what you could do is get some German locomotives and in HO, and then get a 72nd scale Dora.
Dora.
Dora or
that
Leopold.
would be the best.
And just have it just
It's
carting
not-
this big railroad gun around your track.
Yeah, but much like how 35th scale and 32nd scale are just too far apart to actually, it's very noticeable.
And then
to
you
the
could
eye.
really nerd it right out and do the Gomez Adams and have like airstrikes.
Have the trains
some-
going together and then
Boom!
go boom. That's the part about the Adams Family I used to love watching when I was a kid. Just
Yeah,
waiting for him to play with his train
Trains,
set
yeah,
and blow it up.
Blow up the bridge or something.
Oh, that used to
was
be
great.
awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. Next one's directed at you, Ian.
Oh, okay.
So this is from Doug Oliver, and Doug writes, "G'day on the bench.
G'day, Doug.
I have a question regarding Ian's comments about adding a couple of drops of
Yes.
colour to your final clear coat. What constitutes a couple of drops? That's as what Dave would say is how long is a piece of string, as this will vary on the size of your model and the amount of coating. Is there any particular ratio that you can narrow that down to? Love the show and keep on doing what you're doing. Thanks, Doug."
That's an interesting one. Because I've been doing it for so long, I just do it by eye. But the way I always do it is I use a pipette and just put me paint in my airbrush with the thinners,
Well, how
with the
about
clear coat, and then I just with a different pipette, just 2 small drops of the colour.
so you keep your cup standard?
Yep.
You don't change your cup size, which
No.
you can do on some airbrushes.
Correct. Yep.
So what airbrush do you run? So we can perhaps get an idea of the
Oh,
cup
I've got
size.
a standard. It's like it's an Iwata knockoff.
Right, okay.
So you stand a little, I don't know, thumb size cup.
So you'll fill that to the brim with your...
No, never to the brim.
All right, well, you'll fill that up, halfway, 3/4?
3/4.
And then you'll add 2 drops of the base colour.
Yep.
Stir it with a little stick.
Yep.
And then just spray.
Correct.
I hope, Doug, that's nice and clear for you.
Yep.
Because we got no other way.
Yeah.
I'm trying to...
Yeah. You put me on the spot there.
It sort of looks like dirty water or something, doesn't it?
Yeah, you look at it and it's like all murky, and you think, oh, you're looking at it in the pot and you're thinking, oh, this is just going to wreck everything because it's no longer clear. But because it's only very murky, then
Yeah.
you spray it on there, and it's like magic.
Yeah, it looks
You
like.
know, magnets like magic.
Yeah, I mean, I've done it myself. It looks like dirty water. Like you've
Yeah.
washed a couple of dishes in the sink, and
Yeah.
that's the kind of color you've got.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it works. It's magic.
Well, Doug, have a crack at that. And if you still
Yep.
got any more questions,
Yeah.
send us an email to onthebench64@gmail.com. And the last email, which is a great segue into what's new in the modelling world. So Robert Madden writes in and says, "Hi, Dave. Don't know if you've heard, but Wingnut Wings announced at the Chattanooga IPMS Nationals that they are working on the Fokker DR1 triplane to be released in
Oh, he
2020.
stole my thunder. I was going to mention that
Oh,
later.
sorry. They're actually doing 2, the early version and the late version.
And also, just to really, really put it in there, we were saying they're doing the Handley Page 0400. They're also bringing out a Handley Page 0100, which is basically exactly the same, but with smaller engines.
Well, Robert goes on to say, "I'm sure Ian will already be on top of this, but the news hasn't appeared in the other websites yet, so you might have missed it." And he goes on to also write about the Handley Page, which you've just covered off. He then talks about some announcements from Edward, and they're saying in 1/48th scale, they have announced that they're doing the P51B/C Mustang, a Curtis P36/H75,
The Hawk.
an early P40 Tomahawk,
That's it. I'm out of here. Which I've spent all that freaking money on me Hasegawa kits and aftermarkets, and then they do this to me.
Well, you've also paid for the P40s from Airfix.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
true.
funny enough, I ordered over $100 worth of stuff from who are they in Canada? Ultracast.
But
And that's all my stuff. So all my P40s, or all my 13 P40 kits in the stash, I now have everything for them. And now freaking Edward's going to bring them out.
It doesn't matter. Just build them all.
That's it. They look like P40s.
Yeah.
Well, you can. Here's an opportunity. You have an opportunity to build them all side by side. 3, one of each kit.
So apparently the Mustang, the Curtis, and the early Tomahawk were already rumoured, but they are also announced a Grumman F4F Wildcat, which is completely new.
I would buy a Wildcat.
Actually,
you know what?
Even the Altamira one's good.
You know what? I would. Here's what I would buy of these new releases. Right?
Yep.
I would build a P51B because I'm not a fan of the D. Yeah. D,
I reckon the B looks ugly.
No, I like the B.
No.
Razorback on. Yeah.
No.
Olive drab.
No.
Love olive drab. And then I would also buy the Wildcat because even though to me a Wildcat's a very nice Wildcat, I'm sure Edward will put their own spin on it. And they'll come with cartographed decals.
Oh, they come with all the goodies.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd give a P40 a shot. I've come close to buying the FX kit, so it's not.
I got 4.
Not a stretch. I'm not buying one off you.
I got 4 Bs.
You have to live with that purchase.
And Robert signs off by saying, and while I'm here, the Models Fit doing a P51H Mustang scheduled for release later this year. Cheers, Robert M.
It's the lightweight Mustang too, the H.
Well, geez, how many Mustangs are we going to have?
Well, how many Messerschmitts are there out there?
Yeah, I know. Well, I guess it sells, doesn't it, as a kit? So
That's it. Everyone's got to have their finger in the pie, mate.
So that's leading us into what's new. Before we go and have a look at what I've already chalked up, have you guys got some what's new stuff?
Yes. I've got my glasses so I can read. Now, a few weeks ago, our good friend Anthony Goodman from our friends in the Scale Model podcast sent us down some super sanding blocks from Goodman Models.
Ooh.
Now, I've been given them, I've got 3 of them. He sent me down 3 different grades. Now, excuse me. Now, I've given these things a really good run.
Yeah.
They are, in my opinion, they are a fantastic little tool. So what you get is basically like a 3-inch by 1.5 inch rectangular aluminium block. It's only about, I don't know, probably 5 mil thick in imperial, in metric, sorry. And it's got the sanding, it's either emery or wet and dry on either side. And they are absolutely magnificent. They are, because of the size of them, when you're working, like if you want to like smooth something out, you don't get that curve.
Yep.
Yeah.
As you're sanding, it's nice and flat.
Yep.
They are really good. If you want to have a look at them, you just got to go to Goodman Models. That's GOODMAN models.com. And they've got them at, you can buy them all individually. You got 80 grit, 180 grit, 220 grit, 320 grit, 400 grit, and 600 grit. If you buy them individually, you're looking at $4.99 each US dollars. Or if you buy the whole set, $22.99 US.
Gee, that's not a bad price.
And like I said, I can't say enough. These have been a big eye opener for me.
So in the old days, you used to just get a bit of wood and wrap a bit of
that's the way I've been
sandpaper
doing
around
it for years.
Yep.
I've had me little different shapes of wood and rollers and so forth that I've just wrapped me paper over. But you always find the paper moves after a while.
Yeah.
And with these, you can use them wet or you can use them dry.
Wow.
And you can clean them off. Just get an old, or don't have to get an old, just buy yourself a toothbrush, a cheap toothbrush from the local shopping centre, and once a week or something, just give them a good clean off, and you'll be right. But yeah, no, if anyone's after a good sanding stuff, check out Goodman Models.
I'll have to buy some of them. And thanks to Anthony for sending
thank
us
you,
out
Anthony.
some samples.
Awesome
to
stuff.
Try.
Yes.
Brilliant. Julian, I know you've bought some little tools.
Yeah. So I bought 2 scribers from Mr. Paint.
Yep.
Right. There's a lot of scribers out there that I've been meaning to try, and as time goes on, panel lines get more and more narrow, I find. So I'm always looking for more options because not all panel lines are the same width. And
correct.
Yeah, I bought these 2. One's best. The reason why I've got 2 of them is like one's sort of a V, creates a V-shaped trench, whereas the other one creates a square one. Mm-hmm. Right. When I first got them, because they look cool because it's got like it looks like they're made out of black, metal. Mm-hmm. Right. It's not. So my initial thought of it was that, this is cool. Then the paint came off the metal.
Yep.
Because it's sprayed on black. My opinion of it dropped dramatically.
Yeah.
But, having had a look at what's underneath the paint, it's actually still fairly sturdy, right? And it does the job.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that it looks like a more high-quality tool than it actually is, but it doesn't need to be amazing to, carve out plastic.
Does it do the job?
Yeah, it does the job.
That's what you want?
It's about $44.
It's a lot of money.
It's pricey.
A lot of money for a pen.
So,
pointy pen.
Because I've got the Tamiya one.
Yeah, same here.
And it's very
It's
bulky.
bulky, yeah, that's what I find.
And I like the
Very
look of these
bulky,
ones.
yeah.
It looks like almost like a pencil. And it's the same, similar size to a pencil. So
Yeah.
I'd imagine you can get better control by holding it in your hand.
Well, if you're just comparing it to that one, then you'd be able to get into areas like wing roots where you wouldn't otherwise normally be able to get into too easily.
Yeah.
Because it's a much more smaller head to it, right?
Yep.
Where the cutting surface is.
And plus being a pen shape, I reckon you can have a lot more control.
Yep.
So when you're doing those tricky curves, you're not going to struggle like you do with the big bulky Tamiya one that Dave and I both have.
But you still use that dynamo tape to guide you when you
Yeah, I do. Yeah. With these, my review of them would be that they're good. They're not as good as they appear. A bit pricey, to be honest.
$40 each.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say hold off. If you're thinking of buying one of these, hold off. There seems to be a lot of like scribers coming onto the market in lately and also into the near future. There's a lot of companies are releasing chisels and other sort of things that are in that zone. So keep an eye out and let the dust settle before you purchase something, I think.
Yep. Fair enough.
And also, I forgot we had some late mail come in, and this is specifically for Ian, I think it was.
Oh God, another one for me.
Yeah, I'm
Wow,
trying to
Mr.
find
Popular.
it now.
Mr. Popular.
Stand by,
Dave's
guys.
trying
You
to find
keep
it.
talking while I try and find
Talking,
this
isn't it?
thing.
Right.
Yeah. Go on, Julian.
Yeah. So I bought my CR42 kit.
Which brand? The
The
Italeri?
Yeah, the Italeri kit.
The Night Fighter one?
I think it was
Or
a
the
night.
Day
Yeah,
Fighter.
I think it was a Night Fighter one.
With
But
a
I'm
really
not-
long exhaust that goes down the side of fuselage.
I need to modify it into a day one, which didn't be too hard.
I don't think it. I think it's mainly just the exhaust they did.
Yeah. It's got very overly done fabric effect all over it because it's an old Italian biplane thing, and I'm been sanding all that off.
It's just making it a bit more subtle.
Yeah, a lot more subtle. Yeah, and it's really too much. I mean, you put it up against some of the more recent sort of the wingnut wing stuff, even some of the Tamiya stuff that's got fabric on it. It's just like doesn't look so good.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Yes, yeah, but no, these scribers look.
All right,
might have to pinch one off you
Really?
when I do when I start scribing
Yeah,
with
you're
Buffalo.
welcome to borrow any of my stuff. Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, Dave's found something.
Yep, it was actually from Ray Davis. It wasn't an email. He posted it to our Facebook page, and he said, "G'day, Ian. Hope you are doing well, sir."
Thank you.
Cool,
I am.
sir. I was listening to all of the past episodes of On the Bench, and I noted that you had a circle cutter. Can you
Yes.
please tell me which company makes it? Many thanks in advance, and keep on modelling because P is your friend.
It is, always. It's my friend and lover. Now, the circle cutter was by the company Dispae.
That's right, yeah.
DSPAE.
AIE or
Oh,
something like that.
AIE, yes.
Yeah, it's
Not cheap, but darn, it's a good machine. So, yeah, that's the brand to go for.
And it actually cuts through plastic as well, so you can get a plastic sheet.
Yeah, you
down.
got three different size blades.
Yeah.
And it can go down to about nearly 1.5 mil or something. Circles.
It has
Brilliant.
a little spring.
Yep.
That spring loads the cutter so
Correct.
that it's always applying even pressure when you rotate it.
Yep.
It's a great little piece of kit.
Oh, it was great when I was masking the wheels because when I did the wheels on the BV40, they're like modern mag wheels. They got like a magnesium outer rim and a black inner rim.
Okay.
So I used my circle cutter just to mask it off nice, got the size nicer.
Yeah.
So
I did exactly the
black
same
and then
for...
painted me silver.
Yeah, I did exactly the same for my Sheridan tank because they got the road wheels, they got the rubber around the outside, and I actually made a mask out of some plastic sheet and just used that to spray.
Oh yeah,
Brilliant.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So I painted them all black first, and then
Yep.
I put the mask over it and used it as to put the olive
Yep.
So what did you use? Like just sheet stock?
Yeah, the
Styrene.
stock sheet.
The evergreen stuff.
Yeah. The only trouble I found with that particular tool is it's very hard. The graduations don't necessarily line up 100%, so it's a bit hit and miss. You got to do a couple of circles first on, say, a post-it note to get a good idea of whether you're at the correct size you need to be.
Right, yes.
So that's the only criticism I'd have of that. But I reckon it's a great little piece of
So you reused this mask that you made out of plastic on all of the wheels. Is that what you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, one mask.
Did you glue a
One
piece of
mask.
sprue to the back of it so you can pull it out really easily?
What?
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 Is that? Are you masking the inside or the outside of the wheel?
No, he's masking the rubber off.
I'm asking the...
Yeah, you're
the-
masking the rubber
Yeah.
off, or
Yep.
you're masking the actual wheel section.
So
Because I would have masked the middle, not the outside.
No, I did the other way around. So the road wheel, I painted it all black with
Okay.
rubber black, tyre black, and then I masked the outside of that because it's got a little lip on it where the metal part of the road wheel is. You just poke that through the mask that I've made and just spray the green in there.
Well, I mean, like I'm just thinking of how you would do it and how I would have done that, but not the way I actually do it is I just have a circle template that I use.
Yeah, well, there's that. I nearly bought one. They're $20 in the supermarket for us. You know those mathematics circle things.
Yeah, that's what I use.
That's
You can
expensive.
buy. You can
man,
buy.
$20.
You can buy. I bought a set. Was all German armour, and it's photo etch.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, for all different half tracks and tanks and whatever. And it's all different sizes to suit those kits.
God, is there nothing that's out there available for us to
Oh,
buy?
you'd be surprised.
All right, let's have a look at what's new in the modelling world in regards to fantastic plastic.
Yes.
And AMK have
Finally released their F14D Super Tomcat.
Well,
Well,
there you go.
And how many years has that been in the burner for now?
I haven't seen it in anyone's hands yet, so
No.
Well, it's
I
actually
remain unimpressed.
It's released August the 20th, so it's released this month. And we're having a look at some pictures here on the internet, and it's in 1/48 scale, just so all of you should know. And I've got to say, the moulding that we're looking at in the pictures looks absolutely superb. I can't vouch for its accuracy, but certainly the crispness of the mouldings. But the slide moulding technology
Yeah,
they've
it's like
done
one
to
piece.
do the airframe tub where the cockpit sits is in one piece.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
The nose cone is separately done, although there's no...
It's also slide molded.
Yes. And also a lot of the armaments that come with it are also slide moulded, like the missiles as well.
Right, yep.
They've done the undercarriage in a beautiful way in that the sprues are on the top or the bottom of the undercarriage, so
There's-
when you snip it, you're not going to be getting any sort of nasty sort of snip marks on there.
Well,
Yeah, on the
they're
sides.
also slide molded.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. One thing that I found odd, and I don't know if people who like Tomcats are going to take issue with this, is the wings are either you have to pick them as either wings out or wings
closed.
swept,
Yep.
right? You there's no little gear system or hinge.
Oh, that wouldn't bother me. I think I'd know going into the kit whether I'm going to build wings out or wings in.
Yeah.
And that way you can then just display the flaps down.
But see, like I wonder if there's people out there who also are purists. They either want out or in, but they still want to have that option of being able to move it if they want it.
Yes.
Well, that's like saying that you want your tracks and your wheels to move on your armoured kits.
Yeah. I don't.
You do.
I
I mean, you see what I'm saying?
No, what I mean is
see
I
what I'm saying?
understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't do it myself. I just glue mine up for the most part.
No, I get where you're coming from, but
Yeah.
I still reckon that if you're going to... You've already got it in your mind whether you're going to have it wings open or wings closed before you build it.
What I meant is that there are going to be some people out there who think they're of one mind, right? They're either one camp or the other. But then now that they're actually locked into it, they're like, oh, actually, I kind of wish I had the option of being able to move them if I so choose to.
Well, you know what? You can actually build it with one wing in and one wing out. They actually test flew it.
Yeah.
They tested. There's pictures of it flying because they did that as a test to see whether it could still fly, and it did
That's weird.
quite happily. And
I
they-
thought you were saying the kid could do that.
No.
Well, why would you want to do that? Although some people
No,
build
they're-
Corsairs with the one wing up, one wing
Yes.
down thing. That makes no sense because those are motorized and they drop at the same time.
Exactly.
The canopy looks to be
that's all
absolutely
slide molded
gorgeous.
as well,
You can have it with the canopy fully down, or there's parts there. So you can have the both the canopies up. And as I said, the weapons loadout is you get not only sidewinders and sparrows, but you get also the mighty Phoenix missile, as well as some laser guided dumb bombs. Again, these
Slide molded.
So it should save you a heap of time and give you a really good sort of finished.
You don't have to glue any of the little fins on or anything. It's all one piece.
It's beautiful.
They look fantastic.
Now here we come down to the decal. What do you see the decal sheets, guys?
Yeah, go on.
The first one, first decal sheet. The first decal sheet gives you low vis. That's all in the low vis modern sort of stuff, which some people love or hate. The second sheet gives you the aircraft decals in their colour, like from the early 80s, I guess.
Yep.
Days of Tom Cruise and all that. And then you get another one, another decal sheet, which is all the stencils for all the airframes and the missiles.
There's a lot of stencils.
There's a lot of decals there.
Oh, yeah.
A lot. So...
No, looks good.
Looks really good. So
AMK.
I think it'll be well worth the wait.
Yes, good old avant-garde models.
Next up from Bronco have announced in 1/35th scale they're doing a
Caravoloce.
Thank you, which is an Italian tankette, which was built in Hungary or...
Well, this one's Hungarian.
Hungarian.
This is a Hungarian one. It's an Italian thing.
Right.
It's a little tankette.
They used them in the desert.
Well, our good friend Robert built one of these, and he had to do quite a bit of scratch building for the interior.
And boy, and they've got a colour photo of a couple of crewmen. They don't look happy, do they?
No, well,
they're probably on their way to the Russian front.
the way you describe this thing, it's like two coffins glued together and then tracks added to it,
and a very undersized gun.
You don't want to be in one of these things, I don't think.
No, not at all.
Death trap.
Yeah,
it looks like a death trap.
It was fairly in the early 30s, 34 that it sort of came out. So yeah. But still, it's nice, interesting.
It's a two-man tank.
Lincoln length tracks, from what we can see, so that'll make it nice and easy.
Also, it's got a pretty full interior too.
Yes, it does. It comes with the engine, gearbox,
drivetrain.
Yeah. So, from what I understand from Robert's build of it, some of the things he had to fabricate was a small curtain that runs between the two crew members.
They had a curtain between them.
Yeah.
So what, they didn't like talking to each other?
I guess not.
Jeez, weirdos.
And also like small compartments for ammunition, etc. Those were all different on various models because they were used by a lot of different militaries and different countries.
Yes.
So they all had their own little individual take on it.
It comes with a choice of 8 different sort of colour schemes.
Oh, that's impressive. That's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, good if you like your sort of Italian armour, and I'm quite sure that it'll appeal to some of the builders out there. Now, if you remember last episode, we spoke about Tacom with their new Blitz range of tanks that they're coming out. We've got a little bit more information on that now. So they're doing the Jag Tiger in early late production. You get 2-in-1 kit, so to speak.
Yeah, so you do either.
Yeah, that's what they mean by it. They don't mean you get 2 kits.
No, you either do late or early.
But we've actually got some sort of... did have some pictures of... they're doing the new fast build version. So if you remember back to the old Airfix days when you bought the 176 scale tanks, the
one-piece track.
One-piece track with the wheels already in, and you just sort of stuck them on the side. That's what they're going to be doing with these particular kits as well, but of course in 1/35th scale. I reckon that's a great time saver.
Especially with like a Yoke Tiger where the road wheels overlap.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not going to see any of the joining parts.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I know not Hasegawa, Dragon did it with their Tigers, some of their Tiger tanks.
Oh, yeah.
They had like the back row of idler wheels were all one piece. It's about 5 of them.
Makes sense, and that way you can
saves a lot of time.
Get the kit built and then get straight onto the painting and sort of weathering stage. So I reckon it's a great idea. So it'd be really interesting to see some of these built and just get some feedback on them.
That's one of the reasons I have no interest in those large German tanks. Like, 50 road wheels. I don't have time.
You want to build the mouse and see how many road wheels on that thing.
And you're always worried you're going to lose one of those wheels.
Let's do a Churchill.
I never lost a wheel on that one. All right, Hobby Boss have announced their August release, and in 1/72nd scale, they're doing a German Cannon und Flakwagen.
A BP-42, which is a railroad carriage with
So-
guns.
Pretty much, and if you like your sort of railroad or your war trains, that's what I'll call it.
Yep.
This is a,
This is in 72nd as well.
Yeah, I could really go and build one of these. I reckon it would go with the HO, wouldn't it?
Yes.
That we're talking about with
Close
the
to
railroads.
it. Very close to
yeah.
HO, yeah.
I could build one. I reckon it'd be a lot of fun. And it's very easy to slap together. There's not a huge amount.
It also comes with sections of track.
Yep.
And that's going to be the devil in the detail, doing the track and the road and the ballast between the between the rails. That'd drive you potty sort of painting that, I reckon.
No, there's ways around it.
In 1/35th scale, Hobby Boss have also announced a Tiger 2, the Henschel Feb 1945 production, which is King Tiger.
Yes.
Is it not? There's a few of these kits floating around in the King Tiger now. So dimensions is 24 sprues, lower upper hull and turret. The kit contains over 570 parts, slide moulded lower hull and turret. And I'm just wondering what the tracks are because there we go. It's all individual links.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Photo wet set is also included, which seems quite reasonable.
Yep.
So every manufacturer's got a Tiger in their stable.
Oh,
now.
yeah.
Just like every manufacturer for aircraft has a
Mustang or a Messerschmitt.
Or even the Spitfire, dare I say it. All right. Italy. What are they announcing? 6 new releases for this month. The first one is a Vespa 125.
Oh, I know what I'm buying.
Primavera.
Are you for real? What would I do with that thing?
Well, the Vespa.
Yeah. Have a look at it. It's a land crab.
Oh, you could always not Photoshop. You could bash it into like a spacecraft or something.
Oh, actually, looking at the decal sheets, they've got one there with like the British roundels. So you do one of those English ones where they got like a million mirrors hanging off the front.
What's it called? The mods?
The mods, I think they were back in the 60s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they have like 30 or 40 mirrors hanging off the front of these things. Bizarre. Very bizarre.
Oh, well, I guess, there wasn't much to do back in the 50s and 60s. So buy a scooter and trick it up.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine tricking up a scooter is a lot cheaper than tricking up a car.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Or a motorbike for that matter.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. What else we got?
That's in 1/9 scale too, anyway.
Yeah.
And also in 9/9 scale, something that I reckon to be
Zundup
Yes,
KS 750 with sidecar.
Well, man used to have a Zundup KS 750.
Oh, you're kidding me?
No, it was left over from the war.
What?
Yeah, well, he's a Dutchman, the old man. He was. So
Did he bring it to Australia with him?
No.
Oh,
it cost too much.
No,
No,
they're worth a fortune now.
When he was here, he had a what was the bike he had? It was a BSA Silver Star.
BSA Bantam?
No, Silver Star.
Oh, nice bike.
Yeah, until the day he got drunk, ran out of fuel, and threw it and rolled it off the bridge into the river. Silly bugger. But no, that Zundup with sidecar looks pretty cool in 1/9 scale. That'd be a decent size.
Decent
kit
size. 66 euros. I've actually built the Zundup with sidecar in another scale.
1/35th to me.
I've built it.
Been that, yeah.
I've built the BMW one in 35th.
Yep.
The Lions Raw kit.
All right. Yep.
Yeah. Very nice kit. A lot more fiddly and a little bit more rough edge than you would otherwise think, but it's the only one that has the photo etched spokes that are angled from the way it's manufactured.
All right.
This one looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, it does. The
spokes
spokes are actually plastic by the looks of it, if I'm not wrong.
Because that's the telling point with motorbikes. It's always the spokes.
Well, in 1/9 scale, you can get away with it in plastic. So,
yeah, definitely, because they're thick enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are lots of sprues, and I tell you what, it's a lovely looking bike.
It's a beautiful looking bike. I could be seriously tempted on that. In 1/35th scale, a Jag Panther with winter crew.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Good old
Just
Jag Panther.
Jag Panther.
It's a Jag Panther, yeah. Three different paint schemes. Lots of sprues.
This is not a new release. It's a re-release, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably a re-release.
Probably, yeah.
And it comes with, are they vinyl tracks?
Yeah, they're vinyl
they are.
tracks. Yep. That's done
They've even
for
done
Dave.
the spare tracks in vinyl.
Oh, that's terrible. Let's leave that one alone and move on to the next one, shall we? Land Rover fire truck.
In 124 scale.
That's something different and something you don't see all the time.
No.
I reckon,
It's not really a fire truck. It's just more like a Land Rover in firefighter service.
Yeah.
There's the pump on the
Little
front
water pump.
there.
Is it?
So,
Yep.
yeah, so the pump was on the... That was what they used to do back in the 50s
Why they got windows
and
on the
60s.
back? Where you put the water?
You're going to jump out of it and you attach your hose to the pump there.
And then to the fire hydrant.
So
I
the
getcha.
pump was on the front of the truck.
So it
because,
contains no water of its own.
Correct.
Yeah. It's a pumper.
Yes.
And what they
Right.
mean by pumper is you've actually got to use the mains reticulation. And so you stick one end into the mains and then it's a PTO.
Well,
that
you know a
runs
lot
from the
about this. It's
motor.
almost like you work for emergency services.
he knows what he's talking about.
Just a little bit.
That good old Land Rover.
And great little pumps too. They really sort of kick out a bit of water. So,
Yep.
you know, and you could kit bash that and make it into a military one as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to love driving the Land Rover ones in the army.
Paint it blue and put it up, make it an RAF.
Yeah. Paint it green and make it an
Well,
army
chances
one.
are they probably already have a boxing
Yeah.
of that, and this is just a fire service
They
one.
probably do.
Well, you got decals for Cornwall County Fire Brigade,
Oh, aye.
Hampshire County Fire Service,
And the German.
the
service.
Fuhr, and the last. Oh yeah, 2 German ones.
Oh, one might be Austrian, I think. Austrian, yes,
Yep,
it is the Austrian one.
and the 5th
Belgian.
one. Oh, those it was more. There's Flemish,
Belgian,
yeah, Belgium,
Spain.
Yep, Spain. So you get what 6 different.
Gee, it's not bad,
Schemes.
is it? Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
And looking at the kit, it comes with vinyl wheels, unfortunately.
Tyres, you mean?
It's
Tyres.
part of the course for all-wheel
Yeah.
vehicles.
Yeah, that's true.
Look more realistic.
But you know what? The fire services would have kept these vehicles immaculate, so weathering is not something you're going to be doing on it anyway. So
oh, that puts me out.
No, you just got to utilize your new Super Clear 3 on it.
Yes.
Oh.
Get that nice glossy finish.
Oh yeah.
oh, you guys. Next from Italy, we've got the 1/72 scale. They're doing a Harrier GR1, which was used for the transatlantic air race. I don't know really much about this. It comes with a fuel probe, which was sort of popped up over the top of the cockpit. I always liked the shape of the Harrier. It always looks pretty cool
Yeah.
and nifty in my view.
So no, that's not bad.
No, that's not
Not
bad,
bad
at all. In 1/24 scale, a Porsche 956 racing car. Looks
Nice.
like it's for the Le Mans.
So,
Hang on, scroll back up. Oh, right. So it even comes with the tobacco sponsorship decals, because on the website here they're showing them blurred out.
too.
It's
We
blurred
were
out.
talking about that the other week, weren't we?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah, it comes with the tobacco sponsors.
See-
So
see-
you got all your Rothmans and so forth.
After having built a race car, right? One thing that I think every person who has an intention of building a race car has to be wary of is look on the box art, and if you think it looks like they've photoshopped out, like they've fiddled with the photo of the real car or whatever,
Yeah.
and they've put in like blocks
Yep.
or squares and things like that. You look at that and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to buy aftermarket decals.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can't go with that.
No,
It's
because
no
and
good.
there's a lot of companies out there now that do aftermarket decals for cars,
Yeah.
for racing cars.
Yeah, but some of them are just like homegrown printing kind of thing.
Yeah, I've got
It's
a
bit,
set. I can't remember what the brand name is, but they're for my Shelby 64 or 65 Shelby Daytona Coupe, and they are magnificent looking decals. Absolutely beautiful.
That's the problem though. That there's so many race cars, so many
Yeah, because I always wanted to do Bob Bunderat's Daytona that they won the.
When are you going to build it?
Oh, one day. But that's the one they won Sebring in 65.
Last on our list is from
Miniart.
Miniart. They're doing a T60 Romanian tank destroyer.
Which
That
is
looks
something
cool.
from World
With
War II.
Interior kit in 1/35 scale, I think.
Small vehicle with a big gun.
It's a huge gun on it. Do you know what size gun that is?
No,
No, can't tell.
no. Oh, here we go. It's 76.2 millimeter
There
or
you go,
3
3
inch gun on it.
That'd
Range
ruin
gun.
your day, wouldn't it, if that went
Yeah.
through? Interesting kit because it's not something it's out of the ordinary, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's it looks like it might be like one of those sort of well, the T60, right? So it's a Russian tank that's been modified for a bigger gun that goes on top,
Yeah,
and then I think it looks like they've got like the sort of bed frame style antenna. On
Antenna,
top.
yes.
It's an interesting looking vehicle.
Oh, yeah, it looks quite interesting.
Comes with separate tracks
Yep.
and the full interior by the looks of it as well, which actually that looks quite cool.
Yeah. Well, being open top, you got to have something in there.
Yeah, well, that's a good point too.
Is this something that interests you, Ian?
No, not really.
None really.
No. It's a nice kit, but no.
Yep.
All my tank destroyers are German.
A bit of photo etch.
Okay.
All right, I think that's it from what's new, unless you guys have got any.
No, Robert spoiled it for me.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll have to chastise him when we see him in the next club meeting.
Yes, that was my big news.
All right, well, I think we might let it there. We'll have a break and we'll have a chat with our special guest, Lincoln Wright. What do you reckon, guys?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Back shortly. All right, and we're back from our break, and we have now with us our special guest, Lincoln Wright. Now, Lincoln was born in Australia and grew up in Tokyo, Japan, and an obsession with robots was born from that time in Japan, and he finally discovered Gunpla, Macross, and Machine Krieger while he was in Japan in the early 90s. Lincoln then went on to work with Kao Yokoyama Sensei as a studio model artist and a writer for Machine Krieger property with Hasegawa, Wave Corporation, and Model Graphics. Additionally, Lincoln is also the official International Machine Krieger ambassador and has earned the title of Sensei, which is a pretty big deal. G'day, Lincoln. How are you?
Hey, g'day, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
No problems at all. Well, listen, let's get a bit of background as to what sort of modelling sort of subjects you're in, and then we'll move and have a chat about your time in Japan, because that really strikes me as interesting, because I've never really spoken with anybody who's worked for any of the sort of mainstream modelling companies. So a bit of a backpedal. What's your main sort of interest, and what do you do, Lincoln?
I like video games. So
You're on the wrong podcast.
and your wind up there, I think you covered everything so well. I was thinking to myself, man, I've got nothing left after that intro. You nailed everything. I went, yeah, I'd like to live up to that.
Well, I'm sure you can.
Yeah, so I still really like making, plastic models. I have a bit of a giggle sometimes. You'll sit there. I mean, I've got to be running a lot of things at once. I'm taking photos, I'm shooting videos, I'm doing that sort of thing. But ultimately, though, it's still making really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And the best part of it is getting to the point where I can choose what to work on. Please don't hate me for it, but you know what I mean, right? It's it was making stuff that I wanted to do, but then when you start doing it professionally, you have to do as you're told.
Exactly. Yeah. Yep.
But then being able to bring it back and still be, have a quasi veneer of professionalism over the top, but being able to choose the subjects you work on again, and kind of it brings it full circle. So that's kind of what I'm doing now. Sorry, that was a long reply, but I'm now being able to I can choose cool stuff to work on.
Yep.
And I'm still sticking with sci-fi. It's always been my number one passion. I was one of those little scruffy Star Wars kids. So yeah.
Oh, I think we all are deep down. If you scratch us,
look, I've got to admit, I cut my teeth on the old Nitto MAK kits when I was younger.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
I used to love them. And I've still got a big pile of Nitto kits unbuilt at home.
Yeah.
So,
how many did they make of those things?
I think there would have been close to about 20, I think, all up.
Yeah. But I mean, the actual physical volume of kits they've made, because it seems like everybody still has a stash of them who's into that.
Yeah.
And I mean, those ones will teach you some modelling skills, won't they?
Oh, but they're just so well engineered, I found.
Yeah.
Like even when I was doing them, when I was a young kid doing them, they were just so easy to put together.
And especially back then in the 80s, they were really state of the art, weren't they?
Oh, yeah, definitely, because you had the wire, you had the rubber boots, you had bits of metal.
Yeah.
You had it all. And some
multimedia.
some really great decal schemes.
True.
Yep.
Wow, good. Well, I'm so happy you have some experience with it. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries, mate. I love this stuff. And this might even get me pushed into building another one soon.
Why not?
Cool.
So tell us about Japan. How did you sort of end up in Japan, and how did that sort of lead you to becoming a sensei?
Okay. The sensei one's hard to live up to.
No, it's not.
I'd like to. Usually, when people ask me if we're out or and we're at an event, if people say, "How did you end up in Japan?" I like to do the short version of "I woke up there drunk," and 9 times out of 10, that gets me out of it. So I grew up here. I grew up in Queensland. I'm from Brisbane.
All right.
And but now I come back to Brisbane, and it's too hot.
Yeah.
It's
It's not just
summer.
hot, it's muggy.
Yeah. We've been back for a couple of years now, and my wife just looked at me and said, "I'm not going through another Queensland summer."
Mm.
Yeah, so I'm going to do something about it.
Yeah.
But I went over as a young bloke, and it was part study and part family. So
All right.
it was and it was kind of funny because I'll be honest, we weren't a very international family, so I'm not sure how far I want to admit that we're quite on the bogan side. So,
I'm just going to try and translate the word bogan for the rest of the audience. It's sort of like a
Redneck.
Yeah, a bit of a redneck, an Aussie redneck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aussie redneck family.
Yep.
And
Down to earth.
So-
Salt of the earth.
So it was quite amusing, and that never left me. So I'd often, like university sort of age, I'd have, I'd be the only not Japanese person in the room,
Yep.
and they wouldn't expect that I speak Japanese. So people would come in and they'd say, I bet that guy doesn't speak a lick of Japanese because he's got that countryside potato boy look about him. So, but it was a brilliant experience. It's it's hard to think of it now because I've actually lived there longer over there than I have in Australia.
All right.
So but it is good to be back as well, and it's been wonderful for the family. We have a little girl.
Oh, yeah. Well done.
And she's now she loves Australia so much. It's like Japan didn't happen, but it's coming back little by little.
Yep.
I'm sorry if I got completely off the question.
That's
I'm not
fine.
very-
So I'll lead you back on track then, if that's okay. So how did you end up in the modelling industry? How did that sort of happenstance occur?
I feel like Homer Simpson, man. I like stories. So I was really big into the outdoors.
Yeah.
And I still like the idea of being in the outdoors, but it's too hot and too many snakes here.
True.
But I'd made models as a little kid. I mean, the ubiquitous story of your dad gets you a Spitfire.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And the funny thing was, I remember when I kicked off, they were all Airfix and I think a few frog kits. So it was, and
And
they
the
were all
early Revell.
I think I got into Revell when I was a little. That was like a second stage. I thought, I started thinking I had some skills mistakenly, and because we operated in a vacuum back then, didn't we?
Yeah,
so
correct.
we had no idea. There was the box top pictures, and then the junk I made.
Yeah.
So I think Revell was maybe I bit off more than I could chew buying a 132 scale Tomcat. Something like that, a Revell kit. It was a horror.
Oh,
Absolute
yeah.
horror.
Those early ones.
So I'd done that a fair bit, and it was painting with the old Humbrels, which
that
our
was
friends
shocking.
overseas.
Yeah. The old stinky umbrella.
But have you smelt them though recently? I mean, it's worth dropping. I'm sorry to ask you this to waste money, but it's worth dropping $4 just to crack one open because you know how you have to put the old screwdriver or something into.
Yeah.
Leave it open.
Yeah, and then you get that smell though, and it brings back, all of those fume-induced childhood nightmares that you have. painting with thumb rolls.
Yeah, in an unventilated room.
Yeah.
Right. Locked away downstairs because nobody else wanted to smell it.
Correct.
I'm sure our mates over in the US, they probably have that Revell and Testers paints back in the day, and Flockwill, I guess.
Yes.
Or similar, the same sort of nasty solvent-based stuff that we were led to believe was important.
Yes.
I got away from it from a few years there because I found out about girls and beer, or beer and girls.
Well, they are important.
Yeah, that wonderful combination. And then I got back into it because a mate showed me some Warhammer figures.
Oh, yes, the old Warhammer. Yep.
Warhammer.
Yeah, well, I think we've all had a dally in those things.
My girlfriend at the time, is now my lovely wife, she bet me, she said, you don't have the patience to do something like that.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah, so exactly. So basically my whole professional world, my life's work now is based on showing my wife that she was wrong.
What a great motivator.
Yeah, and that's gone quite well. In a series of misadventures.
Oh, yeah. But it's all fun.
And do you remember, these were the old, I think it might have been 3rd edition Warhammer, and it didn't quite explain that you needed, it would just say you need 3 colors on the back of the box.
Yes.
And they were beautifully painted by the heavy metal team.
Yes, that's right. The heavy metal
heavy
team,
metal, yeah. And it have 3 colors. You need bolt gun metal, ultramarines blue, and blood red or something, right?
Yeah.
And your miniatures will look like this. I'm not saying I feel duped, but I think there might be just a little bit more to it.
Oh, yes. Lots of years of experience.
Right. Has that gone too long yet? Do you want me to bring it back?
No, not at all.
But wait, there's more.
Good.
So, being in Japan, of course, there was sci-fi everywhere. It's very big there.
It's huge there. We don't. Unless you've been to Japan and had a look, you just don't get it, do you?
No.
Yeah. So you guys have been to a toy or a hobby store there?
No. Look, I've been to Japan on a 24-hour layover, and that's my extent of my visit to Japan. But just seeing that you can get these little stick-together model kits in a vending machine, and be able to have a cigarette sitting in McDonald's just blew my mind.
Having a cigarette while you're at McDonald's.
Yes.
Well, there you go.
Right.
Lots of public drunkenness.
Oh gosh, that's a whole different topic to get into that one. But you can imagine being a young bloke, and they have vending machines there that sell beer, and the drinking age there is 20, but being of a different complexion, they don't ask you for ID. So
I like it.
Yeah. I'm sure they have a policy there. It's like half price for kids. But, the balance there, if you go to a hobby store there, hobby shop, it's flipped. Like it's military. And personally, I really like military kits. I'd love to have a chance to, even go back and make a Spitfire. See those new Tamiya ones look very,
they are,
really nice kits.
Very nice. Yep.
Yeah. But seeing the numbers are flipped. If you go to a specialist military store, it'll still be mostly that. But just the regular ones that, again, this concept is really different too, because for our friends in America, local hobby stores are quite rare now.
Yeah.
Yes.
In Australia, we're still pretty well sorted in the bigger cities.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I did a count on my hand the other day, and I came up, and this is just bricks and mortar stores in Melbourne, and I hit the number 10. That's within an hour and a half or less for me to drive to.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's not including the online stores that I got access to here in Melbourne.
Right.
So, that blows people's minds when I say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're good too. I mean, the one I've been to the most is Hobbyco in Sydney, because I've done a few events down there with them.
That's a big place.
And and the boss bloke there, Ryan, was talking it up. And in my mind, we joke about this. In my mind, I was like, mate, grew up in Japan. I know hobby shops. but I went in there, and it's really impressive. It's almost like being in Japan. The range is really that good, but then there's the sticker shock
Yes.
Yeah, I'm used to 100 yen for something in Australia. It's just the nature of bringing the stuff here. They cost $4 or $5. But our life is a lot better. It's a better price performance for living in Australia. I'm sorry, I don't want to get off on a weird tangent, but I'll have a lot of people say, but the hobby is very cheap there in Japan. I said, yeah, it's about half of what you would spend elsewhere, but your life costs 3 times as much.
Yeah.
So, you kind of...
evens out a lot.
Yeah, well, the biggest... My hobby's not a big expense, even if you go pretty hard. Just living, keeping yourself alive and not homeless is pretty expensive, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Too true. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can see I've got those high targets, haven't I? Keep myself from being homeless.
Yes.
But yeah, the hobby shops there, going back to the story, the hobby shops in Japan, it's about 80% is just Gundam straight off. Then you've probably got another 10 to 15% is what we jokingly called MISC, miscellaneous sci-fi.
Yep.
And that's actually where my focus was. I worked for miscellaneous sci-fi. But it's still huge there. And then, 5-10% is then going back to military. But those percentages, though, are of a very large pie.
Yeah.
So even though say military now is only 10%, it's still huge. And super high quality too. The benchmark there is very high.
And you get kits even in the military range. There's kits over there that we struggle to get out here in Australia, or indeed anywhere else in the world. You have to buy from these shops direct in Japan.
Oh wow!
And some of them, navigating through their version of English and trying to work out, exactly what you're buying is it's sort of like. I don't know, it's a hit and miss sort of affair sometimes.
Yes.
But, I've had good success buying directly from some of the big model retailers in Japan.
Sure. Sure. The title's in English. You should be good.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I generally look at the box picture and I try to sort of go, yeah, that grabs me.
But I really do know your pain because, I got there. I had not studied any Japanese when I first arrived there. And... just suddenly being immersed. I couldn't use chopsticks. It was you had to learn pretty quick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and being hungry was a good motivator.
That always is.
Right.
So how do you go from not being able to use chopsticks to be ending up working for one of the modelling companies over there?
Okay, yeah, so I wasn't too good on keeping that story. I should practice a more condensed version, shouldn't I? I've had a handful of opportunities to explain this, but I'm still terrible at it. So I started making kits a little bit on the side, and it was just really fun. And because you have access to so much cool stuff there, like literally I'd jump on a train, and within 15 minutes I'd be in Shinjuku. It's a big part of downtown there in Tokyo. And model stuff seems very cheap when you're there. Everything's half the price that we pay anywhere else in the world because, it's local stuff. And I guess the volume keeps it cheap for them too.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
They go through so much of it. So having access to it and looking at, if I went along to a model competition there, because that becomes your new normal.
Mm-hmm.
That's your standard benchmark, so you can't come in, halfway. You kind of go, okay, well that's the level I need to hit, and you don't know anything different. So I think that helped to accelerate the growth as well. Humans, I believe, have a fantastic. It's like a survival skill, isn't it? That if things are if a benchmark is set at a certain level, you have to achieve that quite quickly. I mean, there's some countries out there that seem to have an unusually high level of modeling accomplishment. Do you know what I mean? Like, look at our Spanish friends, for example.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like every third person over there is some sort of master painter.
Yes.
Well, it's funny because we call it the Spanish school when they do their master painting. I call also the Korean school and their ability to do
the Norwegians
to do water effects, for ship dioramas.
If you want to know who does some of the best dioramas, or some of the Norwegian modelers.
Yeah, and it's just it's funny,
stuff.
It's and I wonder whether it's because those groups of people. Well, not so much competition, but because they're all sort of, going to the same
No, it
modelling
is.
shows and everything like that, that sort of breeds that sort of speciality within a particular country.
Right, and that's called competition. So
Yeah.
I didn't mean competitions per se. I meant the way that
the drive.
Yes,
Yeah.
the people need to compete. Again, it's that survival skill of humans. I mean, I'm very acutely aware of this in having been involved in this for so long, that I've noticed that certain groups of population, certain groups of people, they don't start really improving quickly until there's a critical mass of people fighting to be the best. And, in a friendly, happy way, I'm really noticing it now with Gunpla Builders World Cup in Australia, that the level had been decent for quite a few years, but there weren't enough people competing for the top spot. It was always, people might be happy to get their second place a couple of times, and they'd still expect a place at their next show.
Yeah.
But now, even just getting one of the places is really difficult.
Yes.
This last one we just had in July, because there's been an influx of new talent, people coming over from Perth. So that competition is going to drive it. And, from now, I'm predicting that Australian Gunpla will really shoot up. I'm nicknaming it, Aussie powerhouse of Gunpla.
Well, Ian's just recently finished building one. We've got a sister podcast in Canada called the Scale Model Podcast, and
Okay.
we're on. It's a friendly rivalry, and we had this the Musaroo Cup where they gave us something to build, and we gave them something to build. So
Nice.
they told us we had to build a Gunpla, which Ian took on that mantle, and he's finished it, and it looks absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I was quite happy with the build.
Yeah.
Being a Bandai kit, it just basically fell together.
Oh, Bandai kids, haven't they ruined us?
It just,
They've certainly ruined if you're a military modeler, they ruin you for life.
Yeah. Don't you wish Tamiya and Bandai would make tanks or airplanes again?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, to
Sorry,
me,
sorry.
I find it-
Bandai make them. I mean, Tamiya, we want them to make robots. Sorry. Yeah, I got that completely wrong. See, that's why I do video. I can edit out stupid comments.
no, what you're saying is you want Bandai to do ships, aircraft, and tanks, and Tamiya to do
exactly.
Gunpla.
Yeah, just for something different.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
But they're not going to do it. Mr. Tamiya, he's not a fan of robots. No, it's quite famous there. Yeah, I'm not going to do it, but that's where the money is. I'm not doing it.
No,
So here you are, a tall, gangly Aussie guy going to model shows in Japan.
Right.
And how does that get you through the door into
That's funny.
becoming a sensei?
Okay, so the first one I showed up to, there was very awkward silence when I signed in because they're and the Japanese people are lovely, right? And I know how to deal with it because I've been a white guy all of my life, so I know, and growing up in North Asia, I get it, and usually when I speak with people, there's a bit of lag too because they'll say I don't speak English, and I have to remind them, we're not. We're speaking Japanese, bro. Just relax. That's why it's making sense. So the first time I signed in, they told me after they'd had a couple of drinks at the after party, they said, "We couldn't believe you're really not Japanese because you'd been writing on the forum, and we just thought that Lincoln Wright was your pen name, your stage name. We just thought you were, like some sort of clever guy who was coming in with this." I said, "No, sadly, none of that is true. I'm just this idiot." So I went to a couple of them, but 2009 I won a big event there. They call it the all. Gosh, I can't remember the names. It's like all MAK something show.
Yeah.
I know I should remember it, but they kept changing it, and it was all, all Japan MAK something showcase. That's what they were calling them back then.
Yep.
Sorry. The older I get, the more I will forget these things as well. It's a bliss.
Yes.
Yeah. And I didn't realize what a big deal it was at the time. I just thought, oh, that's cool. but because it was the second one that I'd been to. But what I didn't realize that it was extremely coveted there in Japan, because the guys who I was competing with and making friends with, because I'm amusing in Japanese.
Yeah.
I'm in English. I'm still getting there, but I was making friends with people who are actually quite famous in the industry. So have you guys seen Mr. Wild River and his dioramas?
Name rings a bell.
Arakawa-san. He does. If you're into sci-fi and you like dioramas, you'd know his work. And so he was the guy next to me, and I had no idea that these guys were all the high flyers of the other sci-fi properties, and that's why they were competing for this one, because it's very is cliquey the right word? It's a very in cult type thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they'd leave their day job stuff to come in and compete at this one, because it's the weirdo of the weirdos event to be winning.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
So when some foreigner, it's quasi-foreigner, they joke about it and say, yeah, he's that Aussie bloke from Nakano. It's one of the suburbs there. Had won it. That's when the guy's name's Max Watanabe. He's you've seen the spiky green guy in the Gundam universe, Zaku. No worries. Don't worry.
We're looking at Julian. He's our resident sort of
Okay.
Gundam sort of expert.
I'm not much of one. I've watched a few of the series, and that's about it.
Okay. Well, there's the white hero one, the one who looks like the robot samurai guy. Then there's the two bad guys. You've got the pleb of the bad guys is Zaku. This is the really old ones. He's the green one, and then the boss of them is the red one. So jokingly, I always just used to refer to them as, there's red spiky and green spiky.
Right.
Max is the guy who, back in the 80s when it was just kicking off, he's the first one. He painted the Zaku green. Up until then, they had like different and pretty obscure looking paintings. So it's kind of a big deal. Mm-hmm. So he was there, and constantly these guys are recruiting for their businesses, because they also run sweatshops. Wait a minute, am I allowed to say that? they also run sweatshops. He knows. And that's why when I go over there, I said, "Come on, can I come around and see the latest sweatshop? I want to see the little kids in there with their small hands working." And he's like, "You've done all right out of it." So he's really cool. But I didn't realize they recruit there for talent, and he, unbeknownst at the time, he wanted to recruit me as a painting teacher for him and some of his top guys there.
Right.
And so his invitation was very, to me, it's very, it's not direct. It's very almost obtuse. He'd say, "Hey, Lincoln, so, next week, come around to OTB Japan." And that's the invite. Apparently, that's the tap on the shoulder, and anybody else would get it. But dumb me, okay. What are we going to do? What are we doing? What's it for? So I didn't quite know. I was still catching up on who was who, and those sort of things. I just thought they were really cool robots.
Yeah.
And I'd painted something quite big. It was like a big prop size of a spaceship thing. Mm-hmm. And they were fascinated that I did it all with rattle cans and an obnoxiously large paintbrush. I was channeling Bob Ross before I knew who Bob Ross was. But now that could have made the funniest video ever if I had have known all about that. I didn't learn about Bob Ross until people were making the comparison on in the comments on YouTube.
Yep.
I thought they were making fun of me. I'm like, who's this Bob Ross guy? Yeah, you're like the Bob Ross of robots.
So how'd you actually get into the MAK?
Okay, so the series that Max had recruited me for was called, and it's come out as a series of 4 books. Was MAK in SF3D. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of a backstory there. The Nito kit.
Yep.
That you guys had made, that's back in the SF3D
Correct.
series.
Yes.
Yeah. And there were some issues at the end of that. Hobby Japan owns that property, that name, SF3D.
Oh, right.
And Koyokoyama sensei, he's what's the best way to say it? He's a pretty tough sort of guy. He's not someone to be pushed around by these bigger companies. So when they wound the series down, they tried to take it off him, and he said, no, I made all of those designs. I made all of that. That's mine. And he took them to court, which is pretty much unheard of there. Especially then he won.
Wow.
And he won. So it was like, yeah, but it did make some things difficult for him. But he's that kind of guy. He really fits that role of genius, creator, artist type guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
He kind of just doesn't really care. He does his own thing. So in that way, he's quite cool. But he had actually been getting me to do some work for him with different publishers for the MAK property before that as well. So I was somewhat known to the team, and it started off with, I guess basically you'd call it ghost painting.
Right.
I've never thought about how to say this in real life, but yeah, ghost painting. So I would finish up some of the models for them, and they would use them in their photo shoots.
Yes.
Right.
So that was one of the inroads to it. So I was already working on the Maschinen Krieger property. Max had seen that and the win at the show and the big model that I'd done. So that's that was the real push into full-time work for them there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was a pretty good. There was some combinations of luck. And just, I had no clue what was going on.
See, that story, it's like, somebody bumbling in and sort of falling into working for Airfix, or somebody sort of just walking along the street and happens to enter a modelling competition and win and get snatched up by...
Right.
What's another big...
I
Wingnut
think
Wings, for example, or something like that. It's this story, it's just incredible story.
No. It's Hobby Link. It's not Hobby Link Japan. Oops. My sponsors. I just lost a lot of money. My sponsors are upset. No, it's like being picked up for ILM. Is about what the level we're talking.
All right. Yep.
Hobby Japan and this kind of inside thing. Of course, it's not the scale and it's not for film, but. Historically speaking, in Japan, Hobby Japan is the one that started all of that.
Right.
So yeah, it was a pretty big deal. But it's not that I stumble. I hope I haven't played it down too much. People are constantly telling me that I need to pitch myself better. They say you're always trying to play it down. I said, well, I don't want to sound like one of those guys.
No, sound like one of those guys. Go on, blow your trumpet.
No. It required a great deal of work to get to a level that they were wanting to pick me up.
Yes.
That's for sure. Like, it's not that. It wasn't from slapping three kids together.
Yeah.
I'd put quite a bit of time and effort into stuff. I was fascinated by their look, the Japanese Maschinen Krieger look, especially with hand painting the lacquer paints, which most Westerners believe is impossible.
Well, it's not something that we would normally do. I mean,
No.
Right.
I'd never think of hand painting lacquer.
Right.
The airbrush and that's it.
Right. So most people I still get people saying, that's impossible. I was like, okay, watch this video. That's the main reason I actually started doing YouTube, was because when people wouldn't believe it, I'd say, well, watch this.
Yeah.
So that look fascinated me. So I did spend quite a bit of time, learning it. I bought a couple of their books. Yokoyama-san, he'd joke with me and say, you profiled me to learn how to paint like me, because you could do, from day one when you showed up here, you could already produce master forgeries. When he explained it like that, I said, that's basically what I did. I looked at it, and once I'd met you at a couple of events and spoken with you, I thought about your personality, and I could tell you were somebody who wouldn't do, he wouldn't do things in a pedantic way. He wasn't about messing about, faffing about.
Yep.
He was a very straightforward, practical man, which again is quite unusual in Japan. So in talking with him, based on his personality, it's not just techniques, is it? It's how the techniques are expressed through that person.
Yep.
That's a weird one to explain, isn't it? But yeah, it's how the technique is. That's why I joke with my mate Mike. Mike Rinaldi.
Yep. Yeah. From
that's why
Studios.
Sure. That's why I tell Mike that I do advanced oil paint rendering because it's ever so more technical than his.
Right.
And that was supposed to be funny. But because, he's so good at oil paint rendering, but, I say, no, mine's, yours is OPR. Mine's AOPR. It's advanced.
Oh, you've turned up to 11.
Yeah, no, he's gold. Mike's a really good guy. And actually, I did learn a lot about oil painting from him when he was getting started about 10 or so years ago.
Yep.
I used to pester the poor guy. Mike, how do you do the thing?
It's the only way to learn.
Yeah, really. Yeah, exactly. So there was quite a bit was put into it, and I could show up, and I was both productive for them from day one. So it's not like I know I make it sound like a full stumble, but yeah, there was a bit of planning and thought into it. I didn't expect it would turn into work, though. I was just fascinated by the process of making them look cool.
Yep.
So how much freedom did you have to sort of, do something on your own within the actual company, working within this?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the ILM analogy is not incorrect.
Yeah.
So if you paint something Star Wars, you can add to it. You can bring especially if you're at a higher level too. You can add things to it. So just in my personal opinion, I think Rogue One did a lot of cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
It still looked very Star Wars despite everything being quite new.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a lot like that. You need to. And I've got to be very careful because the internet, chases me like I'm, covered in raw bacon and running with wild dogs sometimes. You've got to be really careful to couch things carefully because, how do I say this? I've got to be really careful. Sometimes I like to call them kids. I know they're probably like 55 years old and sitting there with no pants on the internet, but I like to call them kids.
Yeah, keyboard warriors.
Yeah, I know. But they'll say, oh, no, but Gunpla and Machine Krieger is freedom. I'm like, yeah, for you, but for a studio gig, no.
Yeah,
You have to stay by the canon.
Yeah.
It doesn't, you have to make it look a certain way. And again, that's why they hire you is because you can produce that look.
Yes.
But then, if you've completely internalized that look, and you can bring it about in a way to change some of the... You can even use different colors that the other artists in the genre may not have used yet, but if it looks right, and it looks like it belongs with everything else, yes.
Yep.
Yes. And actually, so long as you make your boss look good with it too,
Yes.
they can be very happy about it. So you can bring creativity and originality into it, but it has to fit within their goalposts.
Yes.
Yeah.
So a really good example of it, I know you won't have seen it, no worries, but they had never done, the World War II paint scheme, it's like red primer with snow camo over the top?
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yeah. That look, even if you don't know what it is, just please say yes.
Yes.
Otherwise the conversation.
Don't worry, I know what
We're
you're
with
talking
you.
about.
We're with you.
I know what you're talking about.
It's a very particular look,
Yeah.
and there's different factions, and one of them we swear up and down it's not Spades Nazis because they are,
Yes.
and then the other ones are quite based on Commonwealth forces. So we homage a lot of the decals from those designs and the paint schemes because, again, it's.
Well, I noticed. I noticed when I was building them that all the who were they? The Axis.
Yes.
The decal sheets were lots of
Yes.
emblems from like Luftwaffe units and different tank units and so forth.
Exactly.
From World War
yes.
II.
Yes.
Well, it's an easy way to get people who haven't seen anything before to realise who the bad guys are.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
exactly.
I still reckon the best kit they ever produced was the Croat.
Yeah. That is a really
I
good one,
love
isn't
the
it?
Croat.
Oh, Yokoyama-san himself, he's so happy that his Strahl is the name of the Axis-looking ones. The kits are very popular in Germany.
Yes, they are.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So he's very happy because he quite nailed that aesthetic. Again, it's kicking between those goalposts, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're space robots and they're made up, but they've got a certain look.
Yes.
That's why a couple of times publishers have asked me to put, what's it called? The Balkan Cruise?
Oh, yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Also, and I was like, yeah, no, see, that's taking it too far. That would be wrong. I mean, other people
It's got
can
to be
do
more
it.
subtle.
Yes, exactly. Other people, it's fine for them to do it, but because I've got ties to the studio,
Yep.
it seems a little bit inappropriate for me to go there.
Yeah. Like, there's no point putting swastikas on
yeah.
because that's just going to upset everyone.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly
It'd be like cutting off. It'd be like cutting off Luke's other hand. It's just not. It's just not right.
God, if he wasn't whiny before, he'd be whiny twice as much, wouldn't he?
Right. Now, the writing part of it, though, that opened up a little bit more, but that also had a very interesting constraint because sometimes the Japanese text, or if we had ideas written in Japanese, it's quite a dense language. That's why Twitter goes so well there. 140 characters in Japanese. You can write a novel because they're pictograms, right?
Yeah,
they're the Chinese characters. So when we talk about things in Japanese, and everyone would be happy with the story, but then I'd write it out in English, and English is quite long.
Yeah.
Because that's just how it ends up. So it wouldn't fit on the bloody box. so I'd have to then cut them down, or that was a challenge in of itself too. Just physical spacing. You'd never think that, but it's a thing on a physical property.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
No, they're great. I as I said, as a kid, and even today, I still reckon the SF3D stuff just rocks.
But I'm not sure how much of an overshare this is, but towards the end of the time that I had in the studio, I was a little bit too creative at times. And
all right, yep.
You've got to be careful how far you put that. There's law number one is never outshine the master.
Yes.
Yeah, I only learnt that after. But no, it was a very good opportunity, and I learnt so much. And I'm working with them again. It's not so much that nothing bad happened. It just gave me an opportunity to redefine my relationship with them and help them in a different way.
Right. Yep.
What a great recovery! Did you hear that?
Very good recovery.
That went well.
It interests me that you didn't lose. I mean, this is the one thing that would worry me if I ever sort of took up modelling as a full-time job. I reckon it would drive me nuts, and I'd lose my enjoyment and all the rest of it. It sounds like you've still managed to keep your passion.
What the? Ready? Have you seen that Simpsons thing? Kill me, kill me, kill me, kill me. No, see, the thing is now, I've run a business out of it, and I had to learn new things like video production.
All right, yep.
So if I was just doing the same thing over and over and over again, I agree. I probably would have gotten quite stale and burnt out.
Yeah.
But it's because now I have to adapt the capture process to the modeling process. Mm-hmm. It's extremely complicated.
Yeah.
I wish I knew how difficult it was before I started, because within 12 months I was like, oh, this is way harder than I thought. And you need to learn things like video editing, the pacing of things. Audio is, you guys know audio.
Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong.
But I bet when you started a podcast, were you surprised how complicated audio is?
I was.
Right?
I know. I think, I thought, this would be easy. Because, the original reason why I started this up was because
talk closer to the mic, mate.
there was no podcast on modelling, and I thought, well, I'd love to hear a podcast on modelling. I'll make one myself, and off I went.
Right.
And, then I had to learn about all this stuff like mixers and digital boards and all this sort of stuff. And then I managed to con the other guys into it. And here we are.
That didn't take much.
No, but good. And thank you for your effort in it. It's surprising, especially people on the media consumption end, that sometimes they're not fully aware of how complicated it is.
Yeah, and the amount of work that goes into everything before and after.
I'll get asked, hey Link, when's your next video? And I said, just please remember, you can watch them a lot faster than I can make them.
Yes, exactly.
So I actually had an interest in making a YouTube channel, and it's still sort of on the cards, and I have shot like one of my builds, but the problem is I filmed a lot of footage that was out of frame, You know,
Right.
right? I mean, it's still salvageable, but another thing that sort of discouraged me, and I haven't sort of gone any further with it, is because of the situation on YouTube with regards to politics and things like that, and how things are getting demonetized and restricted. And it's easy enough if you're doing sci-fi stuff because it's okay, but if you're doing stuff that's tied to history, some people might get a little ruffled in the feathers. And so
you probably find the same in the sci-fi genre.
Oh, but YouTube doesn't care about that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Yeah.
What's always astounded me is you can have rivet counters in the sci-fi world.
Yeah.
Because hey, dude, they're made up. You know,
it's universal.
It is.
But that's it. You got to stay with canon.
Yeah, I know, but geez, you know, really, you're going to argue about whether my rendition of a Millennium Falcon is any better than what was on the screen? You know, because it's
Millennium Falcon is probably. I've never done one, and I won't because of that. It's one ship, and some people that's their life's work. They know the Millennium Falcon. So,
but it's a ship. It's a ship of the class. So, being a class of ship, you could have hundreds of them out there. They're all not just going to be the Millennium Falcon.
Go ahead, try it out.
Yeah, no, I'll probably fail.
I dare you. Go ahead.
So you're still building the MAK?
Can I say one more joke about YouTube comments, please?
Please go for it. Let it out, Lincoln. Let it out.
No, it's just we laugh about, you know, there can be many things that people will take issue with on our subjects. I've got there's some guy, again, I'd like to think he's a young guy, not a middle-aged man with no pants, and just because that image doesn't enter there, I can hear you guys giggling too. I can hear it because you know it's true a lot of the time, isn't it?
I think it's to do more with the video realm, because I've got to say all of our listeners are all perfect gentlemen and 100% upstanding modelers.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what I like to tell us anyway.
I haven't had a bad email yet, so I reckon we're doing all right.
Actually, I was a little bit disappointed that YouTube wasn't more harsh. Generally speaking, I was getting really excited. I've actually even done some things to dare I say, piss people off. Because it's fun. And I like seeing people get irate about nothing.
Yes.
So, but the people really the my content resonate with, they know it's a joke and it's they're toys. It's fun. Yeah. But I had one guy just today who's berating me about the style in which I painted the model, because I can both hand paint and we all can hand paint or airbrush models. And I'll be saying, but you should have painted it separately, because Gunpowder's got a real thing. It until not many people had hand painted them or shown them being hand painted before, so it was kind of a genre-wide no-no thing to do. I'm still suffering from a little bit of backlash on that, and I've just shown it. Here's one way that I painted them, and I've shown examples of various ways, right?
Yeah.
Like including the factory warrior one, putting all the pieces on sticks and airbrushing it all. But and I don't mind moving between the styles is fun too. But he said, no, you will have missed places because you've painted it all in one piece put together. Because you'll miss pieces. Some parts will be unpainted.
Okay.
But I just it's well, maybe, but I dare you.
Well, I've got to admit, when I did my Gunpla, I had it before I painted it all. It was all pretty much half assembled, and it turned out all right in my eyes.
Well, it doesn't matter which way you cut it. There's always a drawback, right? If you do it all on individual pieces, you run the risk of maybe one of those pieces not being quite the same level of opacity as the others, right? Mm. You don't find that out until you put them all together. And
correct.
That one's different.
Yes. Yes.
But if you display it, I personally prefer to paint a model how it will be displayed, because then I can plan the look overall.
Yes.
Because the ones painted in pieces tend to look like they've been painted in pieces, especially if they go for a weathered build. Mm-hmm. A weathered build done in pieces is quite obvious to my eye, because they have gravity's worked on it in different ways. They've got streaks going in different directions.
Yep.
It loses the coherency of something built to be finished in that pose. Not saying that it's bad, and people like to repose their gunpla kits. It's just something, which I do too, and I make sound effects when I do it. So that's all good. But just, sometimes I just think, that's why it doesn't bother me. I don't get upset. I just think, okay, you haven't got to the stage yet where you realize that there's more than one way to skin this cat. We can do it, and it's just a different form of fun.
Yes.
Well, the way you're doing
how sensei-like was that one?
Very good.
it, the way you do things is very much like a figure painter works, right?
Sometimes.
Because there are always going to be areas you can't get to with the brush on a figure, but you don't worry about it because no one looks at it from that angle.
No, but sometimes I'm a 2-trick pony.
Okay.
Maybe even 3.
It's a lot of tricks.
Well, it's just when somebody watches one of those videos first, they think I'm that guy. They go, oh, he's the guy who paints a robot like a figure. And then I say, but you can also watch this one, and here I paint it like an airplane model, and this one I paint it all on sticks like you do in a factory. I mean, I'm fluent in all of the styles. Actually, that's going to be one of the big points of the book that I'm doing, is that I'm going to highlight 3 ways to build sci-fi kits, and I'm going to do hand painting them, airbrushing them, and then a hybrid approach. I'm going to do it in three parts with 2 models in each section. Oh. And I don't think that kind of thing's been done before. Mm-hmm. And I'm happy because it'll upset people too. They go, how can you do many things?
Well,
just choose one. I've been doing the one way for 30 years, so I've got 30 years of experience.
Yes.
So what are you working on at the moment?
I'm doing I'm back to Maschinen Krieger. It's the first one for the book since I came back, and it's going to be a hybrid finish. And it's because the guy owns the publishing company. It's a kind of redo of one I did for him. Have you guys seen the Weathering magazine?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I was the sci-fi guy for the first maybe 12 months or so.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Actually, until they started asking me to put Balkan crews on the kits.
Oh, it was them that done it.
Yeah, and I said, yep, and we're out. So, but they said it with an appealing accent that made it sound more interesting. Lincoln, we tell you, now you do the German cross. This will be for the children. I sound like him, don't I? That was old mate Miguel.
Yep.
Bless him.
Good old
but this one's not for him. It's for the guy who actually started the Weathering magazine is Fernando, the guy who owns AK Interactive.
Yeah. All right. Yep.
Yes, it's for him. So he really liked the folk air. He chose that. It was on the cover for one of theirs. So I'm kind of doing a redo version of it. But this time, the last one took me like a week because it's a pretty fast kit, and I only needed to photograph some of it. So it's such a wasted opportunity. This time I'm doing a full step-by-step capture, both photos for the book, and I'm also doing it by video, which is a really stupid thing to do. It's really hard to.
So you're gonna end up doing a Fledermaus?
No.
I'm one of the lucky ones. I've got one of those kits.
Yeah,
and the original Nitto boxing too.
Cool. That one's not it's not a Koyokuyama.
It isn't.
Design. No, he and the kit's not bad. I did the Honise, the updated version. Mm-hmm. So if you see that one, the yellow face one is mine on the Honise. But the Fledermaus, like, it's interesting and cool. It's definitely 80s retro cool, isn't it?
Yes.
But the Honise one, I like the balance of it a lot more because the cockpit is do you know what I mean? The cockpits have not aged well.
No,
they're quite Spartan, aren't they?
Correct. Yes. Well, I found when I did the I remember. I think it was the Jerry, the big suit. Yeah, I tricked up the whole interior of that when I built mine.
Nice.
But when I did my my Croat, I actually I changed the gun and made a Gatling gun and motorized it.
Yeah.
And actually, what I did is I put a little sound card in. Well, it was like a little microphone.
Awesome.
So nothing had happened until someone would get near it and they start talking, and the thing is just start flashing lights and guns start spinning. And
That's really cool.
I was really happy with that.
Actually, we motorized it, but we didn't put it. It wasn't sound activated, which would have been a really cool idea. We did a mashup with Ashley Wood. What's his series? 3A Toys. Do you know that stuff?
Yep.
So we did a toy version of the. So in English we say Kröte.
Yes.
Our German mates say Kröte,
Yes.
I think.
Kröte, which basically is translation as frog or bullfrog or something like that.
Right, so they'll still correct me. It's always wrong. Kröte. And I'm saying exactly like you. No, Kröte. Yeah. And then Japanese say Kröte.
All right, yep.
So it's really hard because you have to speak it 3 ways and they're all wrong.
Yes, exactly.
But it's a fantastic one. That's
it's my favourite.
I think that was the first diorama I did because it's so iconic for the genre, isn't it?
Yeah, I've seen a few of the conversions online where they've actually put German 88mm cannons in the nose of them, rather than the Gatling gun.
Kit bashed them.
Yeah, kit bash, and they look fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a legit one. The Pack Kröte, they call it.
Oh, right.
Because the Germans called them the Pack guns, right? PAK?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
PAK, yeah. Oh,
so there's when it's space stuff, there's nothing you can't homage and make your own.
Yes, well, that's true.
I'm saying that tongue in cheek, but yeah.
Well, when you get this new book all finished, you're going to have to let us know so that we can have a look at it and promote it on the podcast.
Definitely.
And
sure, cool.
Lincoln, if people want to find out what you're doing and want to get to Lincoln Paint, how can they find you?
So we got to that part of the chat already.
Yeah, I'm sorry, mate.
No, it's okay. I talk too long. Just Google me, Lincoln Wright. It all comes up because I've been pretty active. When I had started my own shop, coming back to Australia.
Yep.
Because the old resume wasn't working too well here.
Yeah, there's not too many model companies here for you to sort of go and work for.
No.
Yeah. So just Google it. So Lincoln Wright, and the brand I run is Paint on Plastic, and so that's across a couple of platforms that I'm on. The main one, of course, is YouTube.
Yes.
And there's some stuff on the blog there as well. Paint on Plastic.
Paint on Plastic space is the main one. Yep.
www.paintonplastic.com. So and also you're available on Facebook. Just put in Paint on Plastic.
But I'm not available on Facebook.
No, not
there.
you. You're there. You got a presence.
I'm very. No. Do you guys get a lot of messages?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we do a lot of emails. A lot of people sort of talk on our Facebook page, which is awesome because
good stuff.
It's all about trying to promote the hobby.
Well, the military modelling sort of scene is on Facebook a lot of the time.
Sure.
That and forums.
Yeah.
No, I'm just scared of saying I'm available because
Our audience knows what we mean when we say that you're available. Yes. You're there. They know that you're.
They're not going to be knocking on your door anyway.
Yeah, it'd be like the Eye of Sauron, sort of looking over his Facebook page.
Yes.
They're not going to be knocking on my door, so why am I on this show? Jeez, guys, promise me the world.
We'll promote you. We will.
No, thanks, guys. Actually, thank you for the opportunity to have a chat. I had a really good time.
It's been great.
We'll have to get you back on to sort of talk in more detail about some of the big shows you went to over in Japan
definitely.
and the Aussie show scene as well, because that's always of an interest as well.
I have nothing else.
Oh, you lie!
Well, actually, so now I'm part of the stage show. I work with Bandai doing the show in Australia with one of the guys from Japan.
What show is that?
So the Gunpla Builders World Cup.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So the guy could only do quite limited shows in the rest of the world because of the English translation thing. So we put on, so the show's only in 2 places. You can see it in Japan if you speak Japanese, or you can see the show there in Sydney at the Smash event, and it's the Japan show but in English because they've got some monkey called Link doing it. That was pretty good.
The token Westerner.
Mate, you were in trouble 2 seconds into saying the token word, weren't you?
It's true.
All right. Thanks for a great chat, mate. We'll
Yeah.
definitely have you back on to talk about those in the future because that sounds
Sure thing,
like
can do.
a lot of fun.
Definitely.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, Lincoln.
No worries.
Thanks, guys.
Catch
See ya,
you,
mate.
bye. Well, that was a great interview with Lincoln, don't you think?
Oh, it was. Yeah, very.
He's a funny guy.
He's a good sounds like a good bloke. Yeah, definitely agree.
I reckon I could have a few beers with him. He's a funny guy to have in the pub.
Totally agree. Totally agree, mate. Totally agree.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame he lives in a different city and we can't really catch up with him too easily.
Oh, we can get him on the phone anytime.
Yeah.
I think we'll definitely got to get him back and have a talk about
Oh.
those shows that he's been to. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Totally agree.
Because that's a kind of area that you can't really know unless you go there, right?
You know what? I think we need to make the effort to go to the next big Gundam show in Australia. It's only a weekend.
Yep.
Drive up,
Oh yeah,
drive back,
just for why not?
do a show up there.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll be fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's uncharted waters for us.
Yes.
It is. There'll be a lot of
I'll have to
Krieg-
bring my kit then.
You will enter it. There'll be a lot
Enter
of Kriegmarine stuff up, the Machine Krieger stuff up there.
Machine Krieger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and science fi stuff.
Love it.
I could take my little blockade runner that I built.
Yeah. But that's not Gundam though.
Well, no, but the Gundam will have not just Gundam. They'll have sci-fi.
Oh, do they?
as
Oh,
well.
so it's like a sci-fi model is.
More Gundam. but-
Maybe. I'm not. We don't know because we haven't been there.
No, we haven't. All right.
Unless someone that has been there can let us know.
Well, I'll talk to Lincoln's coming up in July next year, I think. So we'll organise that and see what we can do.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, gents, that's all I've got for this episode.
Yep, me too.
All right, Ian.
Oh God, no, I've just drawn a blank, Dave. What's going on? I love my photo itch. Photo itch is your friend.
Thank you. And Julian.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go now.
All right, guys, thanks very much for listening. We'll be back in a fortnight. See you soon.
Bye bye.
Well, we hope you enjoyed this extra long show, but I'm sure that the content will keep you more than satisfied. As always, don't forget to listen to our friends over in Canada at the Scale Model Podcast, our good friends Stuart and Anthony, and we'll be back in a fortnight with another episode. Thanks very much for listening.